There are some things that happen that are just not normal. There are also some places that are said to have ghosts, the most common of which being abandoned buildings. However, there may even be a ghost behind you right now, and you will never know unless it wants you to. Today we will look at 5 haunting ghost stories. Beware, it might get too scary. Just like the old times. My mother once lived in a haunted house when she was a teenager. Most of the other houses on our street had strange things going on as well. A few houses away from where she lived, there was a family. One night, the daughter of this family went to bed with a really bad headache. However, the next day, she passed away due to an aneurysm. After the little girl's funeral, the family went away to get their minds off the tragedy. Because of this, the girl's father asked my uncle, my mother's brother, whether he could check on their pets. At the time, my mom and dad were dating, so the two of them accompanied my uncle to check on the pets. My mother once heard that there was a grand piano, and she always wanted to play it. On the other hand, my father was studying to be a veterinarian. Once they got to the house, my father accompanied my uncle to the basement, while my mother went straight to the piano on the ground floor. This is where things get a little weird. When she started playing the piano, she felt something brush her ankles. She ignored this, assuming the cat got out of the basement and walked past her. She continued playing, and once again she had the same touch. When she decided to look under the piano, she found nothing. When she played once again, she felt as though hands were holding her legs tightly. She immediately ran towards the basement door and called my uncle and my father. My uncle could immediately tell that something was wrong. My mother explained everything that happened, and my uncle just turned white. He then told her that the daughter who had died would sometimes play a game with her father. Whenever her father played the piano, she would crawl underneath, grab his ankles, and push his feet up and down on the pedals. She really kept the tradition, even in the other world. Patient 0. The ambulance company I worked for was said to have a haunted ambulance, Rig 12. There were even a lot of stories from different EMTs claiming that Rig 12 was haunted. However, I was never a strong believer in the paranormal, so I just ignored their stories. However, things changed when I had my own experience with Rig 12. My partner and I were working in a rural community at 3 a.m. Given that it was late at night and it was pitch dark, we both started dozing off. I was in the driver's seat while she was in the passenger seat. As I was going in and out of sleep, I heard what sounded like a muffled voice. I thought it was my partner talking, so I told her I was trying to sleep and closed my eyes without thinking much about it. The muffled voice was back and it sounded like a man. The voice just said, "Oh my God, am I dying?" There was a few seconds of heavy breathing after these words. At this point, my partner and I were alert, and we sat up straight and looked back into the patient compartment, which was the source of the voice. There was silence for a couple of seconds, but things only worsened. Suddenly, there was the click of an oxygen bottle regulator, followed by a hiss as if it were leaking. I immediately turned on the lights and we both ran out of the rig. I just thought it was a transient that had climbed in, so we opened the rear doors when we got to the rear. However, no one was there, and the oxygen bottles were not even open. After that, we couldn't sleep anymore. A boy with no eyes. One night when I was 10 years old, I remember being woken up by someone else opening my bedroom door. This was followed by someone sitting on my bed. When my left leg was grazed and the bed sank under a person's weight, my conscience immediately thought it was my mom. However, what I saw left me scarred for life when I opened my eyes. Instead of my mom, my eyes were met by a boy with no eyes. There were only black, empty sockets. The boy was about my age and was sitting at the foot of my bed. The boy seemed to be holding a little box, which he stretched out his hand to hand to me. Even though I was scared, I tried to reach out, but he pulled it back. When I reached again, I said, "Give it." But upon blinking, the young boy was gone. But there was the imprint of where he had sat. 5 years later, my girlfriend came over to do homework. Once she was done, she decided to take a nap as she waited for her parents. When her parents came, I tried waking her up, but something weird happened. She suddenly woke up and pointed at the corner where the wall met the ceiling while looking at it. After this, she just went back to sleep. When I woke her up again, she regained consciousness. When I explained what she did, she seemed to be haunted. She said, "Up on the wall, I saw a little boy with no eyes. He was there in a Spider-Man pose staring at me." This freaked me out, and this was when I shared my story about the same kid. Another 5 years later, I was with the same girl, and we had a 2-year-old. At the time, we were still in the same room in my parents' house. My daughter would wake up every night at the same time, and she would have a full conversation. One day I jokingly asked whom she was talking to, and she said, "It's the little boy. He's nice. He's lost and looking for his mommy." This went on until we got our own place a year later. Friendly ghost. Diane, my neighbor, and I had this playful ghost, and we lived with it for years. We even called him Billy. Most of the time I would come home and find something placed in a weird place. Maybe it is the milk in the cupboard, the toilet paper in the fridge, or even the laundry detergent in the bathtub. Even this time, Diane called to ask about Billy because she couldn't find a gallon of milk. However, the one thing that was always empty every morning was the sugar. Once I had enough, I would sometimes point the ghost to Diane's house. I would just point and yell, "Go see Diane." And for sure, shortly after that, she would call me, saying thanks a lot. This has been going on for the 2 years we have lived here. However, if we tried explaining it to anyone, they never believed us. Not even our very own husbands believed this. My mother thought that there was someone who was stealing from us when we were sleeping or out of the house. As for my sister, she believed something was going on, but she did not know what, and to date, I still can't explain it. The Red Lady of Huntingdon College. This story goes as back as far as 1910, and for those who are students at Huntingdon College in Montgomery, Alabama, they probably know about this story. This is because the events that led up to this are said to have been real. According to this story, in 1910, a young woman who was new to the school was known for her love of the color red. However, she was also popular for being strange and a loner. As the first term got underway, the young woman grew increasingly isolated. Eventually, she reached a point where she took her own life by slashing her wrist. Later, she was discovered in a red gown drenched in blood. After this incident, students and faculty reported seeing a young woman dressed in red. She's appeared all around the college's campus. The figure, which lives alone all the time, is often used to show how important it is to be kind to your peers. Which story got you the most? Feel free to let us know in the comments below. Also, make sure you leave a like and subscribe to our channel for more spooky stories. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.